in chapters 26 to 30. Isaiah says that in our hearts, it's talking about lost in tribes, also talking about Jews who have gone away from the right path. It says we always worshipped the God, even though superficially went after idols. Idols could mean anything, could mean materialism, atheism, free thinking, free and so on. Doctrines connected with evolution, connected with all kinds of licentious behavior that people are pulled after because they want what that type of ideology gives permission to do, one could say, and other reasons. Whereas in the back of their head, they still believe in the God, they still believe in the Bible. They still believe in the Bible, and people are pulled. Their beliefs, have different. People are pulled by their exigencies. I bring an anecdote. In Australia, when I was still in Australia, young man in Australia, was a group of people, young men, we had a discussion of concerning abortion. One of them was quite vehemently against abortion. I was against abortion, so was he, and so were a few others, and the others weren't. And there was a discussion we had, and this person who had been very vehemently against abortion, along with me, he had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend got pregnant, and then he decided that maybe abortion was okay, that the arguments for abortion had something in them. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened because I moved away, and I never had any touch with him even then. But never saw him again, never heard from him again, never heard of him again. But that was an illustration that people, because they need certain needs or want to enable themselves to act in a certain way, they modify their ideologies or their religious beliefs in accordance. And this happens all the time. And the media tells us that certain modes of behavior are permitted, are desirable, are natural, are normal. So someone who is in the pathway of temptation is deliberating whether to act in a certain way or not, this pushes him in the wrong direction. And if the media would be more positive towards biblical values, they may not go in that direction. And all of us know this from our own life stories or people we know about. You don't have to thrust this out because it's obvious, it's already well known. So at all events, at some time in the future, we, the people of Judah and Israel, we will realize that we always worship the one God and we always wanted biblical values, but we were misled and we will return. And also should realize, as we've said several times, that the prophets sometimes split around from one subject to another. They go from the present to the future and back again. They go from things that are happening in their time, quickly jumping to what will happen in the distant future or that happened way back in the past. And there's a connection there. There's a relevance there, but it's not always obvious. At all events, and he says there will be a resurrection of the dead. The dead will be resurrected at some time in the future. And then he says the whole of the promised land will belong to Israelites. Promised land, meaning from the Nile to the Euphrates or beyond it. And he said all the Jews of Judah and all the Israelites from lost in tribes will return. What exactly this means is something else, but it says, Isaiah says that. He also says that disaster, some type of horrible disaster will have overtaken Ephraim in the recent past when this happens, but a remnant will repent and be saved. So we don't know what this means, when it will happen, if it will happen. If it has to happen, it is there. Isaiah indicates it. Judah will also suffer for not keeping the law as much as it should have been kept. So what Isaiah is saying, we'll go into a few sources now. He also says that nature will change. The whole of nature will change. The Assyrians and all the other enemies of Israel will be punished. Assyria is often depicted as an arch enemy of Israel. Sometimes Assyria is conflated with Edom. Sometimes is not. But that's what we have. And he also says other things in the chapters coming after that, but now we'll go into a bit more detail of what we have said now. Isaiah 26:1 speaks to Judah, because it says we are called upon to trust in God. We have always longed for God. Our hearts always wanted God. We were faithful to God in our hearts, and in our hearts, our subconscious, we always beg for God. But other gods ruled over us. Other values took us over from us. But only on the name of God did we truly call. God was really always there before us. And other gods can also mean false ideologies such as secularism and so on. That is the whole nation. That is Israel, including Judah, has been increased. Now he goes to another point. Another period of time. He said the whole nation, that is Judah and the 10 tribes, have been increased greatly, and that has spread to the ends of the earth, to see Isaiah 26:15. He speaks of the resurrection of the dead in the end times, 26:19. He says, Leviathan, whatever that means, the serpent will be punished. Israel will spread over the earth and give fruit in the last days, see 27:6. So, as well as being in the promised land, and as well as being in the own lands, also spread over the whole earth. And as we have said elsewhere, we've also said elsewhere that there were, in Genesis 10, it lists descendants of Noah. All the present mankind today is descended from Noah and his sons. And it gives the names of the sons of Noah and their sons, and altogether you have 70 people mentioned. And that all the peoples of the earth, some or other, relate back to these 70 nations. And later on, other commentaries show that the Abraham gave birth to Ishmael. Ishmael was very important amongst the Muslim nations and also other nations. And also Abraham gave birth to other peoples from Keturah, a concubine of his. And they too were important nations, some of which settled in India, some of which settled in Asia, some of which also settled in Europe. And in addition to that, the Bible lists the descendants of Esau and Jacob. Esau is also known as Edom, and he had sons and grandsons, and their names are given as separate peoples or important entities among different peoples. And then you had Jacob, that is, Jacob was renamed Israel, and Jacob had 12 sons, and altogether including Jacob and Esau, and sons of Ishmael and Abraham, and the whole lot comes to 70. So you have 70 nations of the world, then you have 70 descendants of Abraham, then you have 70 descendants of Jacob. The Bible lists the 12 sons of Jacob, of Israel, and then in Genesis 46 and in Numbers 26, it lists the descendants of Jacob, including his sons and his grandsons, and altogether you have 70. And the different traditions that ultimately all the descendants of Jacob will rule over all of the earth. And apparently each of these units, the 70 units of Jacob, will be apportioned to one or other of the other Gentile nations to rule over them, to direct them, or somehow other be in contact with them. So that is a possibility, and in the light of the British Empire and America's influence over the earth. And even now, America is involved in all the nations of the earth. So with the British in the past, so with the French also. The French in part are descent from lost tribes of Israel, so with the Dutch. And so there might be something to this in the future. Getting back to Isaiah. He says, in the end times, a great shofar, a great trumpet, a shofar, will be blown on those who were lost in the exile of Assyria, that is the 10 tribes. The outcasted land of Egypt, Ephraim, possibly referring to Russia and Eastern Europe, and Judah shall return and worship God in the Holy Mount in Jerusalem. The temple will be rebuilt. The drunkards of Ephraim will wail because of excessive pride. He calls them the drunkards of Ephraim. He calls them drunkards of Ephraim. Apparently, the sense of Ephraim are known for drinking alcohol. Which at least proves it unlikely to be amongst Muslim peoples, but amongst peoples who do drink alcohol. And they are condemned for overindulging in alcohol. And alcohol could also be extended, could be considered to refer to any addictive substance, any substance that blurs your consciousness, your consciousness and your conscience. Makes people do what they were not doing, and think and act in ways that otherwise would not do so. And this will be a problem for Ephraim. And calamity shall overtake Ephraim. By Ephraim, he usually means the whole of the 10 tribes. Sometimes it means specifically the tribes of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. It depends on the context. It all means that calamity shall overtake Ephraim. Those who survive, however, will be helped by God and they will overcome the enemy. See Isaiah 28, 5-6. The leaders and prophets, religious counselors of Ephraim will have misled them. Ephraim will have received instruction in another tongue from stammering lips, piece by piece. That is, no one will have the whole of the truth. Also, the Talmud says in the end times, in the end times, there will be a problem that people will not know who to go to for the truth. The truth will be found in different areas, a bit here, a bit there. And those who want to know the truth will have to go around and pick it up from where it's available. So this is, Isaiah is already indicating this. Nevertheless, he says that salvation will come through Zion, Isaiah 28:16. So through the Bible, and possibly in light of biblical understanding of the Bible, that is a pathway of salvation, at least to some degree. God will deliver Israel in the same way as he assisted the forces of David at Perazim. At Perazim, in 2 Samuel 5:19-20, it describes a miraculous way in which God made a noise. Enemies came against the Israelites, Philistines, and others came against the Israelites. And God made an enormous noise be heard in the trees. And the enemy thought that the Israelites had hired foreigners to come and attack them, and they fled. So too in the end times a similar miracle would take place, where in effect, possibly through noise, through some artifice, the Israelites would gain a great victory without having any harm come to themselves. Also says, Isaiah says, a general series of his disasters will descend upon mankind. The end result is for the good of Israel and everyone else. Jerusalem is referred to as Ariel, meaning line of God. Jerusalem, now it goes back to some other scenario at some other time. Jerusalem will be besieged and its inhabitants suffered, but at the last minute the enormous multitudes of its enemies will be blown away like chaff in the wind. The horror will pass like a bad dream. Something like this happened in the days of Isaiah, when the Assyrians came against Judah against Jerusalem. The time of Hezekiah, and an angel came down and killed and struck the Assyrian army and killed 185,000 soldiers. This is also recalled in the secular. Herodotus speaks about it in another way. In other sources, it's mentioned. And so something, so Isaiah is referring to this, was taken as a prototype, prototypical example of something, some greatness, some act of salvation that will happen in the end times. It happened in the past, it will happen in the end times. There's a way in the Bible. Those who take advice from Egypt can mean Russia in some cases, it can mean people in Europe. We'll explain another time why. But all events who take advice from these people and not from the Almighty, they condemned and they work in vain. Those people who believe in atheism, who believe in science, who believe in other things like that, they are going along the wrong path. They're being warned not to. And also, Judah is warned to be aware. Judah does not keep the law, does not heed the prophets, then things may not go well for them. See Isaiah 13:9-10. They who do not want the presence of the Almighty who dwelt amongst them, they are condemned. They should want to be close to the Almighty. And this could refer to other things, whether things actual in our time, or could refer to other events in the future. We'll wait and see. To all events, we are called upon to take heed of these exhortations. We should turn back to God, and He'll help us and teach us through His teaching. See Isaiah 30:18-20. Go back to God, and God will help you. God will teach you. Will teach all of us. Learn from what is happening around you, from what you hear, what you read in the newspapers, what you hear on the news, but especially what you learn in the Bible, from biblical teachers, or from anyone who is reliable in that direction. Learn all the time. God is speaking to you in ways that we do not always understand, but He is trying to get to us. And the closer we get to God, the closer we instinctively know how to do the right thing and what God wants from us. See Isaiah 30:21. And if we do this, we will destroy our idols, and great prosperity will return to us. Also, natural phenomena will occur and changes take place in the light of the sun. So this will happen at some stage. This all here now is going back to another period. At some stage, changes will take place in the sun. The wicked will be punished, but the chosen of God will be blessed and have cause to rejoice. So those who believe in God will be saved. And God will fight against the enemies of Israel. So that is a summary of what is there. More details will be found on our website and in our writings, and also we give future talks on this. But that is what we have.